I think the market is too leveraged right now. It happens after huge runs. You have leverage at the max at the highs. There will be a washout.
How long will this Bitcoin bull run last? Because in the last year, Bitcoin is up over 200%. In just the last 30 days, Bitcoin's up over 60%. And with Bitcoin's price now brushing up against the coveted all-time high resistance, Bitcoin expert Brian Kelly explains what's next, as well as funding rates and how this affects the price.
You have an asset that is bumping against a former resistance. You look at some of the kind of internals. One of the things that I look at it a lot is funding rates. And funding rates just a day or so ago got to 100%. So effectively, you could almost make 100% arbitrage. So that brings in sellers. We saw it hit 64,000 today, and a lot of sellers came in. So in the relatively short term, it would not surprise me to see a pullback. And I tell my team every single day, even in 2017, when we had, Ethereum up 4,000%, it still had a month that was down 50%. So this is an asset that is still extremely volatile. If it pulled back 25 or 30%, wouldn't surprise me at all. But long run, I still think we go to new highs.
So any cool down is healthy. In fact, looking at history, having a rally, then a retrace before the halving is normal. Historically, Bitcoin has performed a local top in its pre-halving rally phase, approximately 14 to 28 days before the halving, before entering a pre-halving retrace. As a result, the danger zone for the beginning of a pre-halving retrace is shown in orange. So we've seen this over and over again. In each halving, we see a rally into the halving. In the circle, a pre-halving retrace. In the red, the post-halving accumulation. And then, of course, in the green, the post-halving parabolic upside. Again, nobody can see the future. Charting is not 100% predictor. These are just probabilities. But again, the danger zone for the beginning of a pre-halving retrace is shown in orange. And currently, we're still in the blue, or the pre-halving rally frenzy.
And I would say we've gotten to very frothy levels. You can see it in the funding rates of the altcoin market, how much you get paid to actually lend out your coins in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the alts. And so you saw it in the equities, the public equity markets, right? MicroStrategy, Marathon, all the kind of public equity bellwethers really went parabolic along with Bitcoin. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see some correction and some consolidation.
And by the way, Bitcoin could easily not retrace. The veteran investors are just trying to prepare the new investors for everything. Maybe we just consolidate near the highs until a breakout, consolidate near the highs into a breakout, like we've seen all year.
Listen, in every mania, in every excitement, people are going to buy at the wrong level because it feels easy. And then they're going to get washed out and they're going to sell at the wrong level. And then it's going to go back up and they're going to say, I can't believe I sold. Like, that's just part of speculation and it's part of investing.
And if a consolidation like that right now would happen, that may be a little altcoin cycle.
I do think there could be a rotation trade coming, though, because we had a lot of excitement about Solana. It ran into a little bit of headway. If today's was this short-term top at 64,000 for Bitcoin, what typically happens in a bull cycle is all the money that was made in Bitcoin and Ethereum starts to look for another home. So you look at Solana, you might look at something like a Chainlink, one or two down that have a real use case and a real reason to exist. I think they could actually be the beneficiary of a pullback in Bitcoin.
Now, it's very possible we do not see any significant pullback as the inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs continue. $42 million into Bitwise, around $100 million in trading volume, and with their total assets under management now over $1.5 billion, a new class of investors are accumulating.
There's a new army of buyers. There's an army of salespeople. I mean, what BlackRock is doing is breathtaking, right? That's an army of salespeople being endorsed by their CEOs saying, guys, this is an important part of the future. We didn't have that 6 months ago. And so I do think it's going to be hard to figure out where equilibrium is in the next 6 to 12 months.
Also, just in, the Greyscale spot Bitcoin ETF banner being hung up on Wall Street today And breaking news, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF has now become the fastest ever to $10 billion in total assets. This is the actual Bitcoin accumulation from BlackRock right now, the first to ever Bitcoin ETF to hit 10 billion.
Listen, I don't think you're buying it into your 401k and selling it a month later, right? And so most of this new money, I think, is going to be sticky money or hodler money.
And the Bitcoin ETF inflows in total are 8 times that of gold in 1/10 of the time frame. This is how fast, compared to gold, that the institutions are buying. Of course, if Bitcoin were to pull back, always look for prior resistances to then become the supports. So around 50, 51,000, and then 44, 42,000.
We broke out from 45,000, and so that would probably be what should hold us if there's a real correction. You never know why corrections come. Something happens and people, shift mindset. And there's a lot of people that have bought recently. I don't think it'll get there, quite frankly. I think if it corrects, it probably corrects to the mid-50s before taking off to the new high.
And let's talk about Ethereum. But I do just want to announce that Altcoin Daily has gone multilingual. We have 9 subscribers thus far. We have just launched our Spanish channel, which will just be about syndicating the content we do here.
Las cripto han sido el activo con mejor rendimiento durante la última década.
After all, the 2 most popular languages on YouTube are English and Spanish, and actually more Spanish speakers in the world than English. To me, it's a no-brainer. If you have a Spanish friend, please send them this channel. Help us get to our first 1,000 subscribers. And all this talk about the Bitcoin halving, meanwhile, the Ethereum supply is becoming deflationary. And this is before an ETH ETF. The Bitcoin ETF broke records. Next up, everyone front-running the Ethereum ETF.
But the reality is we already have an Ethereum futures ETF, and that was the logic that got the Bitcoin ETF approved. And so my bias is it happens.
We could get a 10K Ethereum, according to Ryan Adams, just on that.
Do you think this price action is the playbook for when Ether has its ETF approved?
I think it could be. I think people will certainly look at this and go, well, boy, if Ether's going to come along and do it, I want to be in ahead of it. And I think that's what we saw a lot of the action in Ether this month or the last 6 weeks or so. There's a lot more to Ethereum and some of these some of these kind of second tier coins. But yeah, that's certainly a driver of that price for Ethereum.
Be sure to watch the recent interview we just dropped, how this blockchain stopped a huge amount of theft, and click subscribe for 1 video per day, keeping you informed about crypto.
Ooh, number 1. Now you get me in trouble with everybody in crypto because I don't pick theirs. But I would have to say, and it's a trade that I'm actually doing, is the rotation from Bitcoin and Ethereum into Solana. I think that one's got the next kind of pop higher here.